Welcome all Wastelanders, I hope you're doing well. I'm TNG, and in this video we're taking a look at 5 deadly creatures within the Fallout universe. From giant insects to mutated beasts, these creatures are some of the most dangerous you'll encounter. So, let's dive in. Number 5, Mirelurks. Mirelurks are a type of mutated crustacean that roam the wasteland. They're a common sight near bodies of water and can be very dangerous if not approached with caution. They have a very distinctive and tough shell, which provides them with excellent protection against any form of attack. Now, as well as this impressive armour, the claws are incredibly sharp. They can cause significant damage to anyone who comes too close. Very aggressive and very territorial, Mirelurks will attack anyone, especially those who stray too near to the nesting grounds. They're a common sight in the wasteland, and even in the regular form they have many different variations, including kill claws, razor claws, and even glowing variants. To put it simply, Mirelurks are a very diverse species, and on top of the ones just mentioned, there are several other types of Mirelurks, including kings, hunters, and queens. Now, kings are much larger and much stronger than regular Mirelurks, and although they lack the armoured shell, they more than make up for it with the speed and agility. Mirelurk kings can also use sonic attacks to disorient the prey, as well as powerful melee attacks to finish them off. I think every Fallout player that's ever encountered one of these will agree, they are a bloody tough enemy to take down. Now, juxtaposed to Mirelurk kings, queens are large, heavily armoured, and very similar in appearance to the smaller cousins. These tanks of the wasteland are absolute leviathans. They can take an immense amount of damage. It's not just the size and endurance that makes queens dangerous either. They're capable of spitting acid, and they can use their own spawn as projectiles. These nasty little buggers will distract you, while the queen makes her way in for the kill. Now, fortunately enough, these behemoths, they're not a common sight in the wasteland. I would, however, advise avoiding quarries wherever possible. The last Mirelurk we're going to be looking at is the Hunter. As typical with these crustaceans, they possess a hard shell, sharp claws, but are much more powerful and stronger than some of their relatives. Despite being called a Mirelurk, however, the Hunter does not share the same origins. While the most common variety of Mirelurk is mutated from a horseshoe crab, the Hunter can trace its lineage back to the humble lobster. The same can actually be said for Mirelurk kings too. They also have a different ancestor. Believe it or not, they're actually thought to have been descended from frogs, rather than any form of crustacean. No matter the type of Mirelurk though, all of them are dangerous, and they should all be avoided or approached with caution. Number 4, Wendigos. Wendigos are a type of mutated human that haunt the forest of Appalachia. They're known for their long limbs, sharp claws, and an insatiable hunger for human flesh. They are fast, agile, and apparently can climb trees and walls with relative ease. Unfortunately, the exact origins of Wendigos are unclear. It also isn't known why they are exclusively found in Appalachia. We do know how a Wendigo is created, however, although we must bear in mind that each traceable instance does have its own unique circumstances surrounding it. But let's just keep it simple. For a Wendigo to come into existence, a human must consume another person's flesh, i.e., they must become a cannibal. The best documented instance of a Wendigo transformation comes in the form of Maurice Stevens, the former leader of the Gorman's Raider Gang, based at Bolton Greens. We first hear of Stevens and his story in Fallout 76, of how he and his wife Edie were exiled from the gang for eating fellow members. Now, after being exiled from the Gormans, Stevens and his wife found refuge in what is now known as the Wendigo Cave. And as with any good love story, it ended with Stevens eating Edie. If that isn't the meaning of true love, I don't know what is. Anyhow, shortly after munching on his wife, Maurice actually became the progenitor Wendigo. And if you take a trip to the Wendigo Cave in Fallout 76, chances are you're going to come across him. If these monstrosities weren't enough, there is an even more deadly form, the Wendigo Colossus. This rare beast is again native to Appalachia and is even more nightmare-inducing than normal Wendigos. As the name suggests, the Colossus are, well, colossal. They are much larger than the standard Wendigo cousins. They also possess 2 extra heads as well, which is quite interesting yet disturbing. Luckily enough though, ladies and gentlemen, Wendigo Colossus are a rare sight in the wasteland. They can only be encountered under certain circumstances and in certain locations. However, if you do go looking for them, chances are you're going to find them. Standard Wendigos though are a much more common sight. If you do come across one of these little buggers, be prepared for a tough fight. Number 3, Super Mutants. A common sight across the wasteland. These muscle-bound units are the result of humans being exposed to the forced evolutionary virus, or FEV for short. Developed before the Great War by Westech, the origins of FEV come from the Pan-Immunity Virion Project, which was intended to be a cure for the new plague, a deadly disease which tore across America before the Great War, with death being pretty much a certainty. Now then, whilst researching the cure, the scientists took note of the increased muscle mass and cell replication in its test subjects. Naturally, this piqued the interest of the military, which of course led to more experiments, the results of which became what we know today as FEV. Despite all being created in pretty much the same way, mutants from different regions did indeed have certain differences. For example, mutants created by the Master, a mutated human previously known as Richard Grey, were intelligent, social, and not always hostile. These are the creatures we encounter in Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Now, obviously, this is a massive difference to the mutants we encounter in later titles, who appear to be severely lacking in the intelligence department.
All know Grognak, so he can kill Grognak.
Now, we don't know why super mutants from different areas do have differences. However, we do have some theories. The first is perhaps it's the type of FEV that was used and how it was administered. The more intelligent mutants we see were exposed to a highly refined strain of FEV, known as FEV2. This was made pre-war by scientists in the Mariposa military base. It was also administered as a gas, rather than the liquid form we see in giant vats, like the ones at Westech in Fallout 76. The liquid FEV is also less refined than the gaseous form we see at Mariposa. All the mutants of Appalachia, and indeed the capital Wasteland, were created by exposure to this liquid form. So while we can't be 100% certain, this could be the reason why we see such differences of intelligence between different groups of mutants. Another theory is the radiation count in the person exposed to the FEV may result in a more inferior or inferior super mutant. Let me explain. Vault dwellers wouldn't have been exposed to as much radiation as somebody living out in the wasteland, which, believe it or not, could determine whether the mutant will be intelligent, as seen in Fallout 1 and 2, or a little bit more, lacking, as we see in the later titles. Obviously, guys, we can only speculate, but I reckon that these theories do have some credence behind them, but I guess we'll never know. Now, before we move on to our next creature, I think it's only right that we mention the super mutant behemoths, the oldest, strongest, and of course largest of all super mutants. If you played the Fallout games, yeah, you've no doubt encountered these leviathans. While it's true that behemoths are stronger and taller, in some cases reaching heights of 20 feet, much like myself, they have suffered from severe brain degeneration, which has robbed them of the ability to speak. Despite this reduced mental capacity though, behemoths are easily the most dangerous form of mutant, charging recklessly into battle while using boulders as projectiles and fire hydrants as makeshift war hammers. Trust me when I say, unless you're prepared, this should be avoided at all costs. Number 2, Scorch Beast. A familiar sight to all 76 players, these giant mutated bats are single-handedly responsible for the near desolation of Appalachia's entire post-war population. Created by the Appalachian sect of the Enclave, President Eckhart intended to use these beasts to raise the DEFCON level to 1. By doing this, it would allow him to launch the remaining nuclear missiles underneath West Virginia and continue the war with China. Now, Scorch Beast had a number of weapons at their disposal. Their obvious size and ability to fly made them more than a match for most survivors. They also had a sonic attack too, which could easily wound or even kill somebody. By far the most deadly trait though, is their ability to spread the Scorch Plague, much like real-world bats with rabies. The Scorch Plague was truly horrific, ladies and gentlemen. It turned its victims into hive-minded, grotesque versions of the former selves, and death was a certainty for anybody afflicted. Furthermore, no living creature was safe. Most of the beasts in this list, in fact, can be encountered in Fallout 76 in their Scorch form. Even further testament to the power of Scorch Beast is the fact that even the Brotherhood of Steel could not stop him. They had surface-to-air missiles, advanced weaponry, and it still wasn't enough. It was only when the Vault Dweller emerged that things started to change, the vaccine they created being a major player in the fight against the Scorched. The most terrifying form of Scorch Beast though is the Queen. Absolutely massive and capable of taking a huge amount of damage. Many 76 players have fallen victim to this creature. Perhaps the only creature in the series that has wiped out an entire population. We can only be grateful that by some miracle, they haven't spread across the former United States. Number 1, Cazadors. The bane of many a New Vegas player's lives. These are among the most dangerous creatures in the Mojave Wasteland. Known for the fast movement and potent venom, Cazadors are a type of mutated tarantula hawk wasp, and were created by the Big MT research facility as part of the biological experiments. Cazadors also travel in groups, and they are known to swarm the targets, which makes it incredibly difficult to defend against their attacks. Cazadors are also extremely tough, believe it or not. You can shoot them with advanced weaponry and they'll just keep on coming. Trust me when I say that these creatures are no glorified bloatfly. Now, much like some of the other creatures in this list, several forms of Cazador are known to exist, from common variants such as the giant Cazador to the unique specimen 73. This fearsome variant is the only one of its kind, and it can be found at Big MT in the Z14 Pepsin A DNA splicing lab. Jesus Christ, I've probably just butchered that name, but we're going to roll with it. Cazadors truly are a fearsome creature. The speed, their endurance, and the fact that they fly around as a swarm makes them extremely dangerous. So if you do step into New Vegas anytime soon, try and avoid them. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As ever, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all my Patreons and channel members. The extra support is much appreciated. If that's something that any of you viewers are interested in, the link's down in the description, as well as links to all my other socials and merchandise too. Anyhow, as we say it north, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll catch you at the next one.